Welcome back to Data Driven Recruiting. My name is Sophia Beck, and I'm joined by my co-host Tigran Sloyan.
Hey, Sophia. So today we're talking about reimagining technical sourcing. So first, I guess let's start with how do people do technical sourcing today?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can dive into what's the problem with that and how we could do it differently.
Yeah.
So the way normally technical sourcing happens today, right? Most people use predominantly LinkedIn Recruiter, right? I think there are some platforms that people use to source, but LinkedIn Recruiter is still the predominant way that people use to source. You start with setting several filters, and those filters start from, most importantly, I think, years of experience, right? That's like number one filter that everybody puts on. We want like 4 to 5 years or like 8+ years experience from the candidate. Next come the skill set requirements, right? Like what kind of keywords do we expect to see on their profile? So like we want them to know Java, C++, JavaScript, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes it even goes deeper into like we want them to know very specific technologies, right? So like Hadoop or Spark if you're hiring for like a data engineer or something like that. And then sometimes it even gets worse, and then people start applying like company filters.
Yeah, people who worked at Google or LinkedIn and so on. Yeah. So like as we are adding filters or search criteria into this search, we're getting fewer and fewer and fewer.
And the worst part is, well, everybody else is doing that too. So like the candidate pool is getting small, and the number of companies and sourcers and recruiters who are doing that is very, very large. And this is literally like the formula that everybody follows.
People think of it as a best practice.
Right, it's
the
best practice.
Yeah, but I guess then like if everyone is doing it, then
you get a large number of people targeting a very small group of candidates, which leads to insane salary negotiations, where insane competition, to a bunch of engineers writing as their title on LinkedIn, recruiters, please do not reach out to me.
Right.
It's pretty common.
It creates a lot of noise, right? Because it's like per average, the people who fits into this category will get, 10 reach outs per month.
Sometimes even more.
Week.
Yeah, I've had people get multiple reach outs a day. So it's getting insane.
Becomes noisy.
Especially in Bay Area, I guess one important filter we forgot to mention is that like location, right? So a lot of the time location becomes the key filter as well. So it essentially becomes like a very small percentage concentrated in a specific region. So a lot of bombarding the same people from the large set of companies.
Yeah.
So what could you do differently, right? So, and I've been advocating for this for a long time, especially in technical recruiting, where it's a lot more objective, because what people are trying to do by adding all of these labels is use proxies to identify something, right? So like when you say 3 to 4 years of experience or like 6+ years of experience, what you're really saying is that we want someone who didn't just learn to code, right? Like we want someone who has experience building applications and experience building maybe data structures or whatever, right? Like
done it at least once or twice, not the first time ever. Applying theories to the real life, but somebody who's done the real life work. Okay?
Right. So, but on LinkedIn, when you say I want 5+ years of experience, that translates to industry experience, which means I've graduated at least 5+ years ago, and I've been working as an engineer there, all right? But one thing that's been changing very, very rapidly in the past 10 to 20 years is that software development is getting like younger and younger. Because these days, people get introduced to coding and software engineering at a very young age. I mean, my kid is 6, she's already coding. And that's not new, right?
And we've seen like during the .com bubble, which was almost 20 years ago, people coming out with the websites at age 12 and making a lot of money. So those people, those people must be now 32 or they have
with 20 years of experience. Right. So like these days, when you actually look at some of the people who are just coming out of school, or like maybe 1 or 2 years out of school, they're not 1 or 2 years experience. I mean, that's the old model where you first got introduced to coding when you were a junior or a senior in college. Nowadays, not everybody, right? Of course, that's not to say that everybody's like that, but a lot of 20 to 25-year-olds have like 10 to 15 years of experience doing software development, building really advanced applications. Sure, maybe they're not they haven't been working with like distributed systems or building massive scale applications because they haven't really worked at a massive company. But I have seen very few companies that really have that as a key requirement for the role, because very few people get to, even a large company, get to work on like distributed systems and making things work on like very large infrastructure.
Right.
So, eliminating some of those biases, right, and like going wide. So when you're sourcing, just going like really, really wide, casting a very, very wide net. And then as you get interest, because that's the hardest part, right? Like there's thousands of companies that are trying to recruit for engineers. The hardest part is like, does anybody even want to work for you? So once you can get interest, can solicit interest from a certain group of individuals and candidates, then you can move on to more objective evaluations, to more fair evaluations of skill, to say like, okay, I want you to know this languages, I want you to have this level of proficiency in these technologies, and here is an assessment that you can take, which will identify whether you have those proficiencies or you don't. If you do, your years of experience doesn't matter, what your resume said about the company you worked at or like the school you went to doesn't matter. If you do, then you should be qualified for the job.
So, some listeners might think that, the things that I've heard from many technical recruiters is we're not Google. We don't have the brand. Like, how am I going to get people interested in, us in general? Like, we're just like, coming with not as a great, shiny things to attract them. Like, what would you say to that for this new approach?
Well, it's actually the other way around in my mind, because when you're reaching out to a select group of like highly experienced, good pedigree people, well, your chances of getting a response are even lower as a low brand company, because they're getting reached out by a bunch of very big brand companies.
Ones,
Exactly. Whereas those candidates that don't normally look good on paper, don't have the right years of experience, don't have the right sort of set of technologies or the right keywords on their LinkedIn profiles, they get a lot less attention. And when you do reach out, your chances, even as not a very well-known company, to actually get any sort of interest are higher. And of course, there is like the alternative approach as well, which is instead of you specifically reaching out, like organizing things like events or some sort of campaigns to have them come to you as well. So like one of the notable ones is one of our customers doing a campaign that was called Can You Solve That It? Where they literally put out a website. It was called Can You Solve That It? Where they invited every developer to attempt to solve a technical challenge that was relevant to their company. And anybody who was able to solve that basically became a candidate. Right? Like it completely neglects what their LinkedIn profile says. It just gives an opportunity to cast a very wide net and identify the right candidates who can do the job.
And it seems like that's also an opportunity to really bring your brand out there to a large number of people and say, hey, look, we care about your skills and ability, not about pedigree. So like this is how we're going to do our recruiting. And I think that's also a bold statement to the potential candidates, instead of just being one of those companies who's like trying to get your attention, but here is like,
a company that's doing it the right way and is doing the right thing.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So could you summarize today's bottom line?
Absolutely. The bottom line would be that we should sort of put away our old assumptions around that, like, what experience really means, what experience really translates to, and what keywords on the resume translate to, and start thinking about a top-of-the-line sourcing from a different angle. The angle of like it's about who can we get interested in our company, and then from there effectively figure out who's actually qualified from the job from those that are interested.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your insights, and thank you for listening in. We'll see you next time.